Okay, we are back on the record. We have our jurors present, counsel and parties present, and we're resuming after our mid-afternoon break. Mr. Rund was on the stand, and sir, I'm just going to remind you, even though we had a short break, that you're still under oath. And with that, Mr. Kodiaga, you may resume your direct examination, and it's my understanding you wish to publish one of the other admitted exhibits. Is that correct?
That is correct, Judge. Thank you.
All right.
So we were talking about the overdrafts. We're just done with that conversation. Were all overdrafts covered by the bank?
No.
What do you mean by that?
Well, sometimes we return the item, and then there would be a fee on the backside from wherever it came from. There would be a charge for that.
Will those be occasions when you didn't get to hear from the defendant, or
Correct.
she didn't get to cover?
Yep.
Okay.
Or it'd be a big dollar amount.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as State Exhibit 205. Are you able to see that document?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what this document is?
It's Ryan and Karina's financial statement for March 11, 2021.
What is a financial statement?
It just shows their assets, their liabilities, and their net worth.
Okay. So when we look at the assets section, which the admitted 205 shows, is that kind of on the box that talks about assets? Is that what you would have captured as assets that Brian Cooper and Karina Cooper had?
Yes.
And you know it's the document, fair to say that it has a signature at the end of this document?
Yeah, that's Ryan and that's Karina's.
So the signature that I'm highlighting or pointing at right now on the left of this document, that will be Ryan Cooper?
Correct.
And this will be, on the right will be Karina Cooper?
Yes.
With the date of March 15th of 2021?
Yes.
When you go back to the assets, just very briefly, can you tell the jury what we are seeing in the asset description box? Just a summary.
Yeah, the 29.5 would be like their checking accounts, their cash that they had. The 3,400 would be like bonds, CDs. The not ready marketables, stocks and bonds was like his part of Cooper Farms.
Okay. So fair to say some of these, what we're seeing in the assets is part of what Ryan also would be involved with the Cooper farm.
Yes, correct.
When we talk like the last line of equipment, machinery, and vehicles with a sum of $203,600, will that also be the machinery or farm items, the value of those that they had?
Yes, that would have been what they owned.
Okay. Does this document have a section on what would be insurance section?
Yes, down just a little bit, right there.
Is that what has been, can you tell us which section that will be?
Schedule D?
And Schedule D will be this part over here in this document?
Yes.
What is on the Schedule D of that document, when you talk about insurance, were both parties insured?
Yes.
Starting with Ryan Cooper, what was his term of insurance and who was the beneficiary?
It was shelter insurance, and the beneficiary was Karina.
Okay, so and what were the amounts that we had for Ryan?
There was a $20,000 policy with a $1,000 cash value at that time, and then there was another face value policy of $500,000.
$500,000?
Yes,
And so, in other words, if Ryan were to die in a situation where insurance covers, Karina would stand to receive $500,000.
correct.
There was still the other way you've talked about. At that time, there's a face value was only $1,000
Cash value.
cash value, but the face value was $20,000.
Yeah.
Talked about you texting or contacting the defendant by text or by phone. Do you recognize what has been admitted as State Exhibit 206?
Yes.
Are you able to read that from where you are?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you characterize what's been admitted as 206?
That's me sending Karina a message to see if she can make a deposit this morning, and that letting her know that she was on the overdraft list.
Okay, so it's a picture of a phone, fair enough, with a cell phone, fair enough, with the BRAD or BR, that will be you, correct?
Correct.
And the gray text message will be you texting, with the blue being Karina Cooper.
Correct.
Or Karina Cooper's phone, correct?
Yes.
And just to, not going through all of them, but to pick, let's say, the one that's December 8th, 2020, December 9th, there's a message, good morning. Can you just read that from where you are?
Yes. Good morning. Wondering if you can make a deposit this morning. You are on the overdraft list. Sorry.
Okay. And fair enough to say that Karina Cooper responds to you.
Responded? Yes. Oh, shit. Yep, I will.
Okay. Not going to go through all of them. The jury will have this exhibit with them, but fair enough to say that there were numerous messages that you will send to the defendant that will be talking about the overdraft.
Yes.
But there are times she will make excuses or tell you different excuses for why she was overdrafted?
Mm-hmm. Some of them. Well, the one was Christmas got to her or whatever. I don't remember what they all said.
Okay. Like I said, the jury will have the documents to read with them. Fair enough? So moving on, based on what she, as a professional in the financial sector, what would you say was the defendant's financial health in the months leading up to June of 2021?
She was overdrawn a lot. Financially, just her accounts were negative sometimes, so it was tough.
Okay. I have no other questions for this witness at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Watt, any cross-examination?
Thank you. In looking at some of the exhibits that we saw, specifically with regards to her shop account, it looks like overdrafting wasn't that unusual for Karina. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like it just started happening in 2021. It was an ongoing issue?
Yes.
Okay. And I did see that, I don't know how closely you looked at the bank records, I guess, but I did see that one of the reasons she gave you for being overdrafted was her children making PlayStation purchases. Do you remember that?
Not sure. But
okay.
I'm sure.
And we saw at least a portion of the shop account, and I know the state mentioned that sometimes it skips from page 1 to page 6. You would have provided the entire statements to whoever asked for them, right?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to mark the complete bank statements from the shop account. I'll mark them as Defendant's Exhibit D and ask to enter those into evidence.
Any objection? All right.
I'll return to it, Your Honor, once I'm able to relocate it, if that's okay.
Okay, so we'll put
I'll-
that on hold and
Yes.
go ahead, Ms. Watt.
The insurance that you're talking about, did you write those policies or is that somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay. So you're testifying to the information that's on a financial statement based on information that Karina and Ryan would have provided to you in their efforts to get a loan to build a shop or a building?
Yes, correct. That was from them.
Okay. So when you're filling out the assets and liabilities, you're relying on the information they're giving.
Correct.
So when they have $200-some thousand worth in farm equipment, do you go out and verify that they have that farm equipment that's worth that?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that in this case they were claiming a tractor that belonged to the farm rather than Ryan himself?
Can't answer that.
Okay. Returning to what I marked as Defendant's Exhibit D, I would re-ask to admit that, and I have now shown it to the state.
All right, now that you have a chance to look at it, Mr. Kodiaga, any objection?
No objection.
All right, Exhibit D is admitted.
Also within the text messages that we saw between you and Karina Cooper, it looked like on June 17th, 2021, you had scheduled a hair appointment with her to take place on June 18th at 8:15 in the morning. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Okay. Did she used to
No.
cut your hair?
Yes, she did.
Okay. So it's certainly possible that if there's a text message that has you scheduling an appointment for June 18th, that happened.
Could have. Yeah.
Okay. Not necessarily that the appointment took place, but that you would have made an appointment.
Yes.
All right. I do not have any other questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
I have no question. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down and are excused. All right, is the state prepared to call its next witness?
Yes, Judge. The state calls Jeff Gudenkauf.
Good afternoon, sir. Just come on up here. There's a seat to my far left. If you'd go ahead and grab a seat. And you can adjust that microphone. Yep. So first thing I'm going to do, sir, is swear you in. If you please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth?
I do.
Okay. And then for the record, can you please give us your first name and last name and spell them for us?
Jeff Gudenkauf, Jeff, Gudenkauf.
All right, Mr. Engel.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Gudenkauf, how are you employed?
Good.
How are you employed, sir?
I'm sorry?
How are you employed?
I work for Shelter Insurance.
What do you do for shelter insurance?
I'm an agent.
What are your general duties as an insurance agent?
To sell and service policies, property casualty and life insurance.
You mentioned life insurance. Could you just briefly break down how life insurance policies work?
Sure. So the owner of a life insurance policy pays premiums into the company with the expectation that upon the death of the insured, proceeds are paid out to the beneficiary listed on the policy.
So how is a life insurance policy obtained?
The owner of a policy completes an application for an insured. There are medical tests that can be completed if that is a requirement of the policy. That goes through an underwriting process, and then a policy is either issued or the application is declined.
And how are the beneficiaries determined?
That is determined at the time of application based on the owner. It's generally some sort of a family member, but not in all cases.
So if someone's interested in obtaining a life insurance policy and they're doing that through you with Shelter Insurance, what does that process look like?
Generally, they will reach out, and a number of conversations can take place determining the amount of life insurance. The application process is generally about 4 to 5 pages. A lot of medical history questions. Signatures are obtained, and that policy application is submitted to the company for underwriting.
May be obvious, but what's the purpose of the medical information that you obtain?
As with anything with insurance, you're essentially insuring a risk, so you're trying to determine the likelihood of that policy paying out. So obviously the health history of an individual bears a pretty significant impact on that.
So if there's only a single beneficiary that's listed, is that the individual who then receives the sum of money or the amount the insurance policy was for upon the death of the insured?
Can you say that again?
Yes, if there's only a single beneficiary, is that the only individual then who's paid out upon the death of the insured?
Yes, generally.
Can you explain the process or what occurs upon the death of an insured?
Following death, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So generally the beneficiary will contact the company to let us know of the death of the insured. If I'm the point of contact on that, I relay that information to the company directly, and then they obtain the needed information from the beneficiary in order to process that payment.
Do you yourself reach out to beneficiaries and indicate that there's a life insurance policy that exists and a potential payout?
It's not my practice to do so, no.
Presumably, if someone obtains a life insurance policy, that's documented, correct?
Yes.
Now, I know that things may have changed. A lot of things are done electronically now, but if someone was obtaining a life insurance policy in the past, say 2021 or before, is that something you would do in person?
Yes.
Okay. And they would come into your office and sit down and sign documents, is that correct?
Generally in the office. I've done it in people's homes as well.
Did you know Ryan Cooper?
Yes.
How did you know him?
He was a client of my agency when I began back in 2006.
Did he have any life insurance policies through Shelter Insurance?
He did.
Do you recall how many life insurance policies he had?
On himself or as the owner?
Yeah, just on himself, he being the insured.
I believe 2.
Judge, may I approach?
You may.
Going to be showing you what's been marked as States Exhibits 207 and 208. Just go ahead and take a look at those. Once you get a moment to familiarize with Do you recognize those documents?
I do.
What is State's Exhibit 207, just generally? Is that life insurance policy documentation?
This is an application for a $20,000 whole life insurance policy.
And the applicant or insured?
The applicant and owner and insured is Ryan Cooper.
And State's Exhibit number 208, same question, what is that?
That is a 30-year level term life insurance policy, also on Ryan Cooper, in the amount of $500,000.
Judge, at this time and by stipulation of the parties, the state would move to admit State's Exhibit 207 and 208.
Ms. Watt?
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibits 207 and 208 are admitted.
Mr. Gudenkauf, I want to turn your attention first to Exhibit number 207. You stated generally what that is. It's a life insurance policy. What was the amount of that life insurance policy?
That is a $20,000 face amount.
Can you explain what that means?
That is the proceed that would be paid out to the beneficiary upon death.
And I think you already stated the insured party was Ryan Cooper, correct?
Correct.
Who was the beneficiary on that document?
Karina Cooper.
Moving on then to State's Exhibit number 208. Same question, what was the nature of that exhibit?
That's the application for a $500,000 term life insurance policy.
And the insured on that policy?
Is Ryan Cooper.
And the beneficiary?
Karina Cooper.
If I understand correctly, upon the death of Ryan Cooper, those are the amounts roughly that would be paid out to the named beneficiary being Karina Cooper, correct?
Correct.
How are those proceeds paid out upon the death of an insured?
Those are generally paid out in a lump sum in a check.
And where does that check originate from?
That would be the home office in Columbia, Missouri.
Now, is that something that's then delivered to you and you take it to the beneficiary, or does that go directly to the beneficiary?
Can be done both ways.
Do you recall, as an insurance agent, becoming aware of the death of Ryan Cooper?
Yes.
And ultimately was a claim made related to these life insurance policies that you just testified to due to the death of Ryan Cooper?
There was.
And to your knowledge, were those life insurance policies then paid out to Karina Cooper?
Yes, they were.
Judge, if I may approach.
You may. You don't need to ask again with this witness if you're planning on coming up again.
All right, thank you, Judge. Showing you the marked State's Exhibit 209 and 210. Starting with State's Exhibit 209, do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is that?
That would be a claim check in the amount of $24,724.32.
Made out to whom?
Karina Cooper.
And to your knowledge, is that associated with the insurance policy that you testified to, which was State's Exhibit number 207?
Yes.
Same question with regard to State's Exhibit 210. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is it?
That is a proceeds check paid out in the amount of $514,882.21, paid out to Karina Cooper.
And to your knowledge, is that associated with the insurance policy that you referenced, State's Exhibit 208?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point, again, by stipulation of the parties, the state would move to admit State's Exhibit 209 and 210.
Ms. Watt?
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibits 209 and 210 are admitted.
You stated State's Exhibit 209 was a shelter insurance check, correct?
Correct.
Paid out to Karina Cooper?
Correct.
And that was in the amount of, I believe you said, a little over $24,000?
Correct.
Based on the documentation kept there by shelter insurance, was that check in fact cashed by Karina Cooper?
Yes.
Same question with regard to State's Exhibit number 210. That was a shelter insurance check that was paid out to Karina Cooper?
Correct.
And did she in fact cash that check?
Yes.
And the total amount of that check again, sir?
On 210 was $514,000. I'm sorry, $514,882.21.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Ms. Watt, any questions?
Just a couple. When did Ryan apply for the life insurance?
I do not have the exact date in front of me.
Do you not have the exhibits in front of you?
Of the policy they paid out, I believe that there was a policy prior to this. The application date on this policy was November 20th, 2013.
Okay. Can you just check, were both policies that you have in front of you applied for in 2013?
That date was on Exhibit 208, which was the term policy. Exhibit 207 was also November 20th, 2013.
Okay. Did you, in dealing with Ryan, did you ever meet Karina?
Yes, I don't recall the exact time, but it was very few times.
Okay, so you dealt primarily with Ryan?
Correct.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Engel, anything further?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down and you're excused. Oh, sir, going to have you go down. Yep. Mr. Engel, is the state prepared to call its next witness?
May we approach, Your Honor?
You may. Pretty quick today. By my calculation, we've gone through 8 witnesses today, and I think we moved quicker than anybody anticipated. So I guess good news, bad news, depending on how you look at it. We don't have another witness here today. So the next witness we will have will be here ready to go at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. My understanding is we're moving ahead of schedule, so even though we're ending a little bit early, don't worry, we're still on schedule, if not ahead of schedule, as we talked about. So what that means for you is you get to go home a little bit early today. So I'm going to ask that you be back here ready to go at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And again, remind you of the admonition that I've given you earlier. Still keep an open mind. We have more testimony and exhibits, I'm sure, to come in. And don't talk to anybody about the case. Don't let anybody talk to you about the case. Don't do any sort of investigation or research about anything related to the case, and avoid any media accounts of the case, both traditional media and any sort of social media accounts of the case as well. And with that, all of you, I hope you have a good afternoon and good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ready? So, a couple things I had on my list, and I know you guys had something you wanted to talk about as well, but just one, considering we're removing, when do you folks think you can get me some jury instructions? I'd like to have them maybe by the end of the day tomorrow. Would that work?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can submit a proposed set of joint jury instructions tomorrow by the end of the day, that would be great. And end of the day means midnight as far as I'm concerned. I know oftentimes, I just heard at a seminar when people talk about this, end of the day to people my generation usually means 5 o'clock. End of the day to, my kids means midnight now, since everything's submitted electronically. So it's always to confirm what that means. So end of the day, we'll call it midnight. We'll pretend we're all in our teens and 20s. Then, Ms. Watt, I think the most recent exhibit D
Yes.
came across as a proposed exhibit. I'm going to need A and B at some point still, and then C, I assume, will consist of a thumb drive or something like that we'll be able to get to the jury.
Yes.
So just want to remind you of that. All right, then last, we're circling back to proposed exhibit 306, I believe, which is the what was played to the jury as a demonstrative exhibit when I believe it was Detective Lord who testified. And so we'd kind of reserved that. I saw, Ms. Watt, you did file an additional objection, written objection, and I think both of you indicated you had more to say on the issue, potentially at this point, so I'll give you a chance. And also, like I said, that was played, I believe, Thursday of last week. So, and I know we had discussed the state was proposing to remove a couple pages for that. I'd like to see the actual exhibit again. So if you could upload, and we're going to need it, either way, we'll need it to complete the record. So if the state could upload a proposed exhibit 306 for my review, I would appreciate it. And then, I guess, with that, Mr. Ringel, I guess, first of all, before we get to exhibit 306, is there anything else you wanted to cover today?
No, just regarding 306.
Yeah, and Ms. Watt, anything else you or Mr. Hawbaker wanted to cover today other than 306?
No.
All right, then tell me what you'd like to tell me, Mr. Ringel, with respect to number 306.
Judge, thank you. I think what the state's original intent and the argument that the state proposed was that the exhibit is essentially more or less information taken directly from the Celebrite reports or Axiom Magnet reports. Obviously, voluminous records, thousands of pages of data from these phones. So I think defense is correct in noting that some of the information that's contained on the state's proposed exhibit is not directly from those Celebrite records. What the state would propose doing then is removing any information, which is fairly limited, but removing any information that is not directly from the Celebrite reports, and then moving to admit it pursuant to Rule of Evidence 5.1006.
Well, here's what I would propose. Before we argue about an exhibit, let's get the exhibit. So you remove what you think should be removed. Then we'll give Ms. Watt and Mr. Hawbaker a chance to look at it. They may not have an objection. They may, but we'll, let's cross that bridge if we need to, and only if we need to. So does that work for you, Mr. Hawbaker, Ms. Watt?
Yes.
All right. So I'll know it when it comes in. I'll see it. So, and then you folks will have a chance to look at it. And again, this is not something that we need to decide till obviously before we submit this case to the jury. So we need to get it done, but there's no time crunch. So, all right.
And Judge, the state will prepare that and provide it to defense and the court today.
Sounds good.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that we need to take up?
Not for the state.
All right. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.